Hey guys, we're back with our next part of our Sryth online text-based game playthrough. Um, Last time I couldn't tell you what happened. We were finally doing stuff at Herc, so I think we did the Palo Bread Man last time, and that's um, like a Christmassy time event that happens every year. So it's not all the time that thing. So it was good that I did that because we were, So I was doing more Huckler stuff, but what I think I want to do is finish that proving ground. Finish the Silvercrest proving ground. There's quite a bit left. Not quite a bit, but there's from about here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 more scenarios to finish it, but I do want to finish it just because I don't like to leave things unfinished, so I think that's what we're going to do. So last time, I fell into some abyss to end up where the shadow people are, and they taught me shadow magic, which is what I was after. But now let's finish their story and be done with it. So let's go. Thanks so much for joining me, hanging out. We're gonna get on to more proving grounds and Silvercrest. Thank you. In the cellar that candle glow in, you bid farewell to Halan, Rinduel, and Harakir. The three of them wish you luck and repeatedly tell you that they wish they were able to come to you on what they feel will be no easy mission. If Master Nero sees fit to send you back on this task, he must think very highly of you indeed, said Alon. Of course, I didn't need him to give me an opinion. I already held my own. I pray for your success and safety, Allison. Harakir bows and tells you that he and the others will await your return of further instruction from Nerith before moving against Madraxa. I've known you only for a short time, he says, but I need to see nothing more to know that I will trust you with my life. Godspeed to you, friend. When we will meet you in the shoulder across the spars, I fear there's nothing left for me to tell you, he says. You go with my prayers and those of every enemy of the dragon. I need not tell you, I wish we were both seated back at the fire, back at the crest headquarters. Perhaps again someday. Just perhaps. Keep up your guard, Allison will be waiting for you. Feeling as if the very weight of the world has just descended upon your shoulders, you look around at the faces of your three companions one last time before turning and stepping through the flaming arch and into the swirling vortex. A sharp cry of alarm from behind you tells you that all is not right. What? You turn even as your body has begun slipping into the clawing grass of the vortex, and your eyes fall upon a sight that leaves you in a deep sense of dread. Another portal is opened in the cellar, out of which step three cloaked figures, their face concealed in the shadow cast by the dark hoods they wear. The figures throw back their hoods and they advance upon your allies, and your pulse quickens as you recognize the faces of Adriska, Priyan, and Trailtop. Helen shouts something to Rindu, and three of you leap back as they appear to be summoning some sort of magic which they target Trailtop. Hirakir draws his sword and moves to intercept Adriska and Priyan as they rush toward Rinduel. You struggle to free yourself from the grip of the vortex that is swiftly pulling you into the void, but it's too late. Screams in the name of your companions, you tumble backwards into darkness and see no more. Aww. The void through which you tumble for only a few moments suddenly replaces by a press of heat. In the grey smoke-filled sky, you realize you're lying on your back, and you quickly regain your feet and begin to survey your new bleak surroundings. There's no sign of the flame-ringed portal through which you stepped to arrive here, but for as far as you can see in any direction, the child's smouldering rocky landscape leads you to believe that you're indeed in the realm of fire which Nero spoke. In one direction, a long series of boulder-strewn streaming hills stretch off out of sight, which directly behind you sits a scorched forest of blackened smoke-wreathed trees. The intense heat that envelopes you makes it uncomfortable to breathe, and you wonder what sort of living thing could hope to survive here for any length of time. The answer comes almost immediately in the form of a deep grumble and several extremely heavy footfalls. You turn to your left, and behold the sight as the question you pose to yourself makes your blood run cold. Moving swiftly from your left, emerging in a field of large steaming rocks, is a towering fire giant. A massive black-bearded giant, his body alive with the red flames of eternal fire. It's a Balrog that characterizes the species. He has an enormous hammer over his head. Okay, Balrogs have whips, not hammers. That's cool. It's what he's dragging along by the tail on the ground behind you, however, that's particularly unnerving. It's about the carcass of a sizable red-scaled dragon. The flaming giant bows deeply upon catching sight of you and laughs. You look lost. Tell me where you headed and maybe I can help you. Come on, let's have it. Divination. You sense a strong wickedness around you. Okay, we'll try it. "You're in a dangerous place, my friend," says the fire giant, his tone surprisingly friendly. "Now, it can't be a permanent arrangement, mind you. If you let me know where you're trying to go, I might lead you. Let you stick with me for a bit. It might be safer for you." You tell the giant you're seeking a great king of fire, and he nods. "The fire king, is it then? Well, you stick with me and I'll see to it you get to his place. Promise me you're not between the trees, and I'll shoot you straight to the gates of his castle." The giant kneels down and extends his massive hand to you, which appears to be a gesture of goodwill. "Sure." Reach out and seize the fire giant's massive hand, and he smiles kindly. Suddenly a shadow falls over you and rapidly begins growing. You look horrified to find the giant's mighty hand is coming down straight on top of you. You've only split seconds to dodge the treacherous blow. Manage to dodge the worst of the blow, but you're still grazed by the wounded, but still very much alive. You turn and take flight. Run! That's what I get for giving people the benefit of the doubt. You turn to take flight, bounding over rocks, sprinting up steep slopes, and dodging past the edges of deep ravines, and you attempted to outdistance your persistent foe. The fire giant is not easily deterred, however, and continues to dodge your every step, all the while cursing you at the top of his lungs. Your lungs feel as if you're about to explode in the oppressive heat of the infernal atmosphere in space, but as you reach the top of a small hill, the scene spread about before you restores your hope. On the back of the hill is a series of small hollows, many of them concealed by a large rock. With any luck, you might be able to hide yourself here and escape your determined pursuer. Choose a hollow about halfway down the slope and hide yourself in it as best you can. Tucked safely behind the overhanging rock in a small hollow, you watch with some sort of satisfaction as the fearsome giant stomps past several times before ultimately abandoning the search and penetration. The giant curses and storms off out of sight, and you no longer hear the footfalls. You slip out of your hiding place and quickly set off on your way. After a hot, lengthy trek through the bleak, scorching landscape of low, rocky hills, hope you brought some water. The ground beneath your feet becomes most level, and soon find yourself standing on the steep banks of a wide river of molten rock. I was like, "Ooh, a river." No, it's a burning river. Stretches as far as you can see in your right and left, which brings you to the realization that you need to somehow cross it to continue on. And continue on you must, for rising it behind a series of low, jagged hills on the opposite side of the deadly flow is a towering wall fortress of red stone. A long line of crimson flags fluttering the towers and turrets of the opposing stronghold, which appears from this distance to be surrounded by a moat of fire. Your attention returns to the river in the moat for the first time. Oh my gosh. In a long time. A number of shiny black rocks are floating along in the sluggish channel, and you believe that you might be able to cross the molten river by leaping onto the backs of floating rocks. We're not leaping on floating rocks. Use gating. Yeah. On the side of the molten river, a broad path made up of wide stone slabs leads off in the direction of the smoky and flaming Gulf Fortress that sinisterly dominates the landscape, the longest of the shadows that extend from. What if you can't learn magic? What if you pick a character who doesn't have magic ability? Could you still learn shadow magic? You're about to take the first step along the road when the path turning to your left abruptly changes your plans. You turn in the direction of the sound, and the gas will hold a group of 12 men in suits and crimson armor advancing upon you in rigid formation. Each of the men was a bronze-tipped spear and carries a sturdy metal shield that bears the same emblem that is emblazoned into the shiny breastplates, a red spider, its body wreathed in flame. The men flanking each end of the advancing columns carry standards that also bear the mark. "You are guilty of trespass in the realm of Ojulsu, the Exalted," announces one of the armed men in an unfriendly tone. "Your sentence is death." Okay. On to the next. Oh, the King's a Spider. Is it Aragog? I'm not rereading the caption, we just did it. Despite an overwhelming odds, you're about to assume a defensive stance against the advancing armored men when you alertly spot two more columns of equal number approaching from the direction of the towering flaming Gulf Fortress. You realize at last that to resist these warriors would undoubtedly be a deadly mistake. Retaining as much dignity as possible, you raise your hands and calmly surrender to them, hoping that the ploy will buy you time to plot your next move and perhaps get closer to that which you have come seeking here, the Eye of Angora. "A wise decision, Outlander," says one of the men, moving up and binding your hands behind your back in a set of iron manacles. "Ojulsu, the Exalted, will look kindly upon your submission. It may well lessen your suffering." You will march at a rapid pace along the wide stone road toward the flaming fortress and are near exhaustion from the heat by the time you cross the titanic iron drawbridge that spans a triple moat of molten rock. In the outer barrier, you are met by two black armored guards whose breastplates still bear the flaming spider insignia, and you're taken through a series of 4 gates and into the main hall. The cavernous chamber, which serves as the main hall of the fortress, is lined on either side by large arches, through which a roaring inferno can be seen. At the far end of the hall, surrounded by hundreds of armored warriors, much like those who brought you here, is a large raised plinth. The plinth is engraved with many strange symbols. The din of conversation that fills the hall, coupled with the roar of the fire that rages just outside. If you hear the sounds, that's because it's New Year's Eve, and people are about to go off with fireworks. It's dark now. A nearly intolerable temperature is almost more than you can bear. You are shoved roughly from behind by your captors and forced to move to the crowded hall toward the plinth. Bathed in sweat and near to collapse, you are within 10 yards of the raised stone platform, and the immediate and eerie silence falls over the hall. The cacophony of voices ceases, leaving only the roar of fire to assail your ears. The terrifying reason for the sudden quiet climbs slowly over the edge of the plinth, one leg at a time. A massive red spider, each of its 8 crimson legs twice as long as your own body, pulls its bulbous form into the raised plinth, and immediately all the hall falls to their knees. You're roughly forced into a kneeling position, but after a few moments you're hoisted back to your feet, as well who are present rise. Behold, cries the black-armored warrior standing left of the powerful in worship, Ujusu, the exalted keeper of the wasted of 7 fires, and defender of the firehold, beside the fated lowless outlander who soils our realm. Silence hang heavily over the throng hall as the hideous spider leans over the edge of the plinth and peers down at you through its bulging black eyes. You too, realm come, are but unwanted. This is Ujusu, as a foaming white spittle secretes from its powerful mandibles. You must fire champions for death. Barely able to comprehend the erratic, almost nonsensical dialogue of the fearsome Spider King, you merely nod in response, hoping that some display of humility will help to serve you while you remain a woman with a grotesque tyrant. Flames 3, Flames 3, roars Ujusu, rearing up 6 of his legs while waving about 2 fulsome limbs wildly. Flames 3, worship. When the hawk immediately drops to his knees, you're again forced down, and you must later pull back up when all is risen. You attempt to address Ujusu, telling him that you would come seeking the eye of Arngor, but your voice goes unheard above the din that chokes the chamber. The 2 black armored guards who remain with you shove you roughly forward through the massive warriors that crowd the hall until you are what appears to be the center of a vast chamber. There you may descend in a square room of red stone, and the guards step back. Luck be with you, outlander. There's one of the guards who fall back several yards of the rest of the crowd. Your first instinct to rush in this direction, since you've been placed in a position of danger. You can act however 4 walls of flames spring around you, then 20 yards on either side, encasing you in a perfect square of fire. Flames 3, Flames 3, roars the voice of Ujusu above the crackle of flames. That's right, your terrifying revelation of just what is meant by Flames 3 slowly takes form before you. And Fire Guardians. Cool! The fire-wreathed silhouettes of 3 sword-wielding warriors appears before you in about 10 yards from where you stand. The 3 warriors of flame remain motionless for several seconds till one in the middle strides towards you. Its fiery blade poised to strike you down. You steal yourself a fight and finish against the 3 champions of the Spider King. Yeah, they ain't got nothing on me. With a loud howl, the Fire Guardian shimmers brightly and vanishes. The second blazing warrior rushes at you for a brief instant as you prepare to meet the enemy's charge. You believe you can hear the bellowing of Ujusu above the roar of the fire that surrounds you. With a loud howl, your flaming foe shimmers and vanishes. The third Fire Guardian, his blade of flame almost as broad as your torso, rushes forward and attacks. Yeah, about that. The wall of flame vanishes and the third Fire Guardian is set down to the feet as deathly silence falls over the whole of the waters that throng. The chamber set back, a path is clear, a path that leads from you to the plinth. The great spider roars and rears back on 6 of his legs, waving his 2 almost limbs about wildly as if to answer to his bellowing. The 2 black armored warriors reappears and force you along the path that's open through the crowd until you stand directly before the raised plinth. Jusu stares down at you over the edge of the plinth, his mandibles grinding together as a steady stream of yellow oozing white foam spills from between them. I seek you, wish I, oh wish I. Dark below, fine. Drop, dark, drop, roars the mighty spider. Much to your surprise, when the guard behind you removes the manacles that bind your wrists and shoves you closer to the pit. You're about to make your best attempt to address the juice of the exalted when suddenly the fall beneath your feet is when your plummeted feet burst into darkness. Last thing you see before total darkness engulfs you in a hideous flame face, the juice will stare down at you from above. Ooh, ooh. Well, it's the eye. Hit it. My adventure continues. The bone-jarring force you land flat on your back, striking what feels like a cold slab of stone. Injured but thankful to still be alive, you stagger to your feet and use a faithful light to illuminate your surroundings. You discover that you're standing at the end of a broad passage that extends out of sight to the east. The walls on all sides climb up out of sight, disappearing into deep gloom about 10 feet above your head. Suddenly, sound of scuttling fills the passage, and you pulse race as the three large brown spiders, each the size of a small bear, appears on the rear edge of your light. You immediately position yourself to only have to face them one at a time, and without moments to spare, you're set upon by the first of the vicious arachnids. Large brown spider, you have no chance to flight. You seal yourself for a brutal fight to the finish against a hideous giant arachnid. Everything's hideous and everything stinks. The second of three rushes forward to attack. And the third. The last of three spiders topples over and lies unmoving on the floor. You step back from its crucial and wipe the sweat from your brow. Before you have a chance to examine your surroundings, the cool voice of the jewel erupts from somewhere in the darkness overhead. You peer upward, trying to catch a glimpse of the face of Spider King, but the walls disappear in impenetrable gloom almost 10 feet above your head. My made you. I find you a survivor. Die wicked. Wow, die wicked. A Jusu's roaring voice fades, leaving you in silence in the dark corridor. Okay, time for a walk. You stand in the very spot in which landed in Jusu's labyrinth. The remains of three spiders usually still live in the passage here. That is the overall grim appearance of your unpleasant surroundings. Your footfalls echo eerily off the smooth tiled surface of the labyrinth's white corridors. There's no visible ceiling as the wall climbs into shadow far above your head. You cannot help but feel your every move is being watched by unseen eyes. A loud groan startles you as the floor of the passage shakes. You turn to your left and right, horrified, discover stone iron walls previously flush with the stone wall of corridor swiftly closing in. I think gated. With barely a second to spare, a swirling black vortex opens in front of you. Dive into it, emerge from this second portal a split second later, safe to beyond the closing iron walls. Now clear the danger, you turn and watch as the walls close to within a foot of each other and then slowly retreat until once again flush did not move again. Okay, rude. A strange white glow looms out of the shadows ahead of you, and you immediately halt in the middle of the passage. You attempt to discern what is approaching. You're revulsed to discover that hundreds of small glowing white spiders are scuttling along the corridor towards you. Ew. Just as you wonder what sort of devilry now confronts you, the voice of the Jews who shatters the silence from somewhere far above. Die step, touch gun. Juice's roaring voice fades, but you're left with the impression, after attempting to interpret his gibberish, that touching or stepping on a tiny spread result in some catastrophic and likely unpleasant event. Your mind races as you attempt to find a way to avoid approaching the white spider that scratched the entire breath of a birthday. I think elementalism. Calling upon your elementalism, you summon a gentle breeze that slowly but surely forces the approaching glowing white spider to the left of the corridor, where there is enough room that if you move down the corridor, you swiftly and safely move past the swarm. You exhale sharply and lean against the wall to steady yourself after trying an extremely perilous ordeal. Your respite is only fleeting, however, when the harsh voice of a Jusu from somewhere in the darkness overhead suddenly shatters the silence. Gone, Drew, be all. Last not. As the Spider King's voice fades, you once again prepare to set off along the passage. Okay, we're going this way. Now, maybe. Yep. hideous, and it probably stinks too. Alright, the passage you've been following ends abruptly out of the wall. To the east protrudes a block of grey stone, which extends 3 wooden levers. Each lever is carved in the likeness of a spindly leg of a large spider, and at the base of the wall is, to the south, flush with the rest of the floor, is a broad square black stone. On the wall below the levers is a bronze plaque. The badly tarnished engraved words on the plaque are still legible. It appears to be some sort of verse. Its composition leaves little doubt that it is composed by Ujusu himself. It reads as follows: "From the midst of 3, right, up, and not up, 3 made way." Okay, right, up, and down. I believe that the strange verse in the plaque somehow relates to the operation of the 3 wooden levers. Look up the current state of the levers. So, right, up, right, so I think maybe the middle and the right is supposed to be up. Okay, I guess that's wrong. What's the problem? The base of the wall to the south, flush with the rest of the floor, is a broad. In the midst of 3. Right, up, right, and up, not. Maybe this one up. Maybe this one down. And still no, huh? I'm thinking, you guys. I'm thinking. Do you believe me? To the way in your beside you, better scream it to bright. Come to the fish and the bite to meet his eye. Make way. You're gonna want this guy. Cause I'll leave, I really see, I'll be a bottle one. That the people is why. Alright, how about these 2 up? No. These 2 up and the middle one down. You know, that does not make sense. Or we can try them all up. Let's try that. Woohoo! Not down. I don't know. Yeah. These 2 steps of the black stone square, the wide stone slab sinks several inches of floor and the swirling back portal opens against the south wall. Step into the swirling back portal, emerge less than a second later in a completely different section of the corridor. The portal closes immediately, leaving only a solid wall behind you. Alright, where you going? Yes, something's following me with unseen eyes. You progress along the corridor, comes to an immediate halt as a terrifying sight looms out of the darkness ahead. A massive red spider, its torso engulfed in wide, wild, leaping orange flames scuttled in view and begin stalking towards you. Their size. I'm fine with fighting it. The fire spider disintegrates. I'm down 100 SP, bro. How about we do some items? And we eat academically. Right, 6. Stats. Yes. Okay. Let's go east. A broad square of white stone is set on the floor in the middle of this junction. A lively burst has been carved in the stone in a crude fashion. It appears that it is another of Jules' creation, but despite its apparent lack of coherence, it certainly contains clues that will be vital to survive in these deadly halls. The verse reads as follows. I 3 false north west turn east turn west, I's 3 and turn 2 for flames rash. You're still puzzled of the strange Russian repair once again to set off. Yeah, I don't know what that means. You don't know what that means, okay? So let's go straight. A large stone idol of a hideous spider dominates this small alcove. Set in the middle of the spider's head, glittering in the pooled light, is a large ruby. Alien sense of powerful anti-magic field surrounds the spider's head. Also attempt to using a magic component. Realize it is take great effort to remove the ruby from the socket that secures its head to the spider's head. You also realize that fidgeting with the gem ruby was the possible setting of a trap that might be put in place to guard it. Yeah, here's what it is. After struggling for several minutes, you manage to pry the ruby free from the socket. You stare down and wonder at the size of a gem. That one, the ruby suddenly bursts into flame and vanishes. So much pride discovered that the stone idol has also disappeared. Okay. What was that about? Whatever. Let's go north. All the way. Yep. I'm not dealing with that again. And what's happening up here? Okay. The small alcove of the passage contains a large stone dial set to the center of the floor. On the edge of the dial, I inscribed the words north, east, south, and west. An ornate iron hand attached to the middle of the dial appears to be capable of pointing to any one of the following other 4 directions. Okay. I'll leave it. Leave it, I say, leave it. This is also north. Alright, what's the other one? So they're both going north. I'm not moving any more idols. And then what's this way? A broad stone arch stretches across the passage of this junction. Many intricate engravings and spiders cover the ornate structure past the arch. The passage continues to the east. As you approach the arch, it suddenly fills with flame, forcing you to quickly retreat from what is almost immediate immolation. You must save this. You study the arch for quite some time, wondering how you might get past this new and deadly obstacle. Alright, so we gotta do something with these levers. They're both facing north right now. This is west, so I'm gonna face it east. No, I want to face east. Now I want to go back south. this one up here to face west, like this, and then we'll go back west and south. Try that. What? Okay, it's being real rude. Seems to me like that should work. Yeah, rejuvenation is what I like to see. I don't know what you want to do here. Let's go back to the dome. Let me see what it says. All three false, not rest. West turn east, east turn west. Eyes 3 and turns 2. I don't know what that means. Maybe if I do the other. I don't understand. Oh no. Seriously? Alright, let's see about this other one. I don't like you, but I love you. Seems like I'm always thinking of you. Oh. I mean, I've done everything I could possibly do in here, besides going through this thing. Okay. As you approach the house, it fills with thin gray smoke. Despite the unpleasant odor of the smoke, you're certain you can pass through without harm. Okay. Your progress along the passage is brought to an abrupt halt when the sudden appearance of a shadowy figure moves along the wall to the east. The figure turns and you are relieved to find yourself once again meeting the gaze of Sryth, the master of shadow magic. Sryth appears weak, his hands tremble and his voice waves as he speaks. You learn that he has brought himself to appear before you with a sense of dire urgency. Your mind and your skills serve you well. To have made it this far in this terrible place, he says, audibly gasping as he speaks. But there remains one final challenge. I fear no, I dare say no. It will prove to be the greatest yet. The eye of Angora is nearly at hand. You listen intently as Sryth speaks. He tells you that south of here you'll find one that you need to reach the chamber in which west the object of your quest. You've been watched all this while, he says. The eyes of that vicious creature that calls itself king have never strayed from you. His vile bulk lurks close by, and even now, somewhat over our head, watching us with hungry eyes, in which it reared any insect that suddenly found itself stuck in its web. These passages are its web. It gets what little pleasure it takes from its woeful existence by watching its prey struggle to the heart of it. Yet it is there, Allison. At the heart of these halls you will covet. When you covet that which your eyes will behold, you must not relax your guard. It is there, and then you will be the greatest peril of mercy. The beast is cruel and ravenous as it is mindless. Nearest word fill you with a deep sense of dread. The thought of encountering the juice of the mighty Spire King is some dark corner deep in this labyrinth of passages evokes indescribable fear even to one who is indeed no stranger to peril. Go now. As the earth begins to melt into shadow against the walls and face from you, I will save, or should you have left, and if I can, aid you. He vanishes in mid-sentence, leaving no trace of himself behind. You wait for a few minutes, hoping that he'll reappear, but when he does not, you resort to set off on your way without further delay. Okay. The small room you stepped off into the wide corridor is empty save for an odd sight at its center to which your eyes are immediately drawn. Hovering in the middle of the room, 3 feet off the floor, is a thin iron wand. Realizing that it's obviously the one that Sryth alluded to, you reach out to take the instrument and find your hand repelled by a powerful, invisible force. Stepping back, you cast a glow of your trust light upon the room, searching carefully for any means that might allow you to lay your hands on the wand. Shadow magic. A chorus of barely audible whispers fills your head as the shadows of this small chamber go to work, eager to answer their master's call. Long, spindly fingers of deep shadow peel themselves away from the wall and slither across the floor until they fall across the floating wand. Watching silent amazement as the shadows take hold of the wand, swiftly placed in the palm of your hand. Nation quickly turns to May as the wand making contact with your flesh melts into a small puddle of shadow in your palm, which rapidly disappears. It is with you, echoes a particularly sinister whisper in your head. Fear not, it will remain. With you it shall remain. The whispered voice falls silent and does not speak again, puzzled by the strange sentiment, but more eager than ever to complete your mission. You leave this realm once and for all and turn to prepare to exit the room. Exiting where? This is it. Where am I exiting? Okay. You arrive at that in the passage. After a careful examination of each of the 3 walls, you determine that there's no curse but to turn back where you came. You've taken 3 steps back south along the corridor when something unexpected and quite astounding takes you by surprise. A shadow, one that retrieved only a short while ago, which will promptly dissolve into a pool of shadow and vanish, reappears and hovers before you. Moving on its own, the strange object traces a tall arc in the wall up to the north. In that precise moment it completes a shape. A dark tunnel exists where the impassable wall stood only a few seconds ago. The one open again disappears, and through a cautious wind you step quickly into and move through the tunnel. You emerge after the tunnel. From the tunnel after just a few minutes, find yourself in another part of the corridor. Seriously? Somebody's having a party. The passage broadens and opens to a wide square chamber. Ornate columns climb the walls in 8 places, stretching up out of sight overhead to where you can only assume they meet the distant ceiling. The sizable room is bathed in an orange glow from above, which instantly draws your eyes in that direction. There, 20 feet above the floor, floats a crackling sphere of fire. In its center, almost concealed by flames, a small black shape, and a sudden glint of green from within the sphere sends your heart racing. You realize that you're standing beneath the fabled emerald as the object of request, the Eye of Andor. As you study the flaming sphere, wondering how you will attempt to fetch the eye, a strange unsettling sound from above reaches your ears. A moment later, the source of the noise is made plain. It is form of the jewels for the spider king swiftly descends into the chamber, dangling on the end of a very thick, dripping strand of web. You quickly shift your attention to this new and immediate peril. The revolting spire king lowers himself rapidly into the chamber. When all 6 of his spindly legs have touched the floor, he severs the sticky strand of web that bore his tremendous weight. The jewels stares at you for several moments before at last his mandibles begin to move into the loads of white and yellow split oozes from between them as he begins to speak. Last thing that you gone for hope, vile. He roars and squares himself up with you, even at his current distance of 15 yards. See you in last try, I. 1,000 world heroes, all I seek have left is all. And the massive spider scratches open its maw, from which escapes a sickening gurgling sound, accompanied by a nauseating stench that quickly fills the chamber. The hideous creature suddenly vomits a large heap of ooze. Ew! And slime to the floor in front of me. In the midst of the fetid pile lies a pile of bones, no doubt. The last victim was devoured by the great spider to whom he just attempted to elude. With that, a Jutsu, as we creep across the chamber towards you, realize the time has come at last to face the horrid beast. I think I want to try 3. You pick up a fish-sized chunk of sand on the floor and hurl it at Jutsu. The rock sails toward the spider king's head, and he instinctively turns his neck and cringes to avoid it. When he again looks in the direction wherever you know what he's seen, cloaked in a deep gloom that scarcely leaves the chamber, you move swiftly and silently take a position just behind the baffled enemy. As the Jutsu remains still, his eyes falling over every inch of the room, you spring out of the shadows and strike him with devastating glare. Winded and seething with rage, the fearsome spider turns towards you. Surprising display of agility, this massive spider crouches down and springs into the air, landing several yards back from where he stood only a second ago. The vile creature arches his back and strange sound echoes off the walls of the chamber. Suddenly you become aware there's something sailing through the air to engage the listener, dropping down at you from a long rate as the descent is a wide, sticky web. Shadow magic seems to be most likely to succeed. One long shadows against the wall to your left pulls away from the damp stone and arches over you. Only a dark net that catches the web held by the Spider King. The shadowy web quickly retreats, taking with it a rapidly dissolving web. Jutsu, die good forever, roars. He roars, sorry, that rat. He's mad. He grumbles as he moves cautiously towards you, his cruel eyes intently watching your every move. Suddenly, the shadow one you retrieve materializes in the back of your hand. The cold iron one rapidly melts into a cool shadow and leaps out of your hand. Huddling with tremendous speed towards the approaching Spider King. Split second before it strikes its target, the shadow transforms itself into the silhouette of an arrow. The jutsu bellows in agony, and the shadow arrow tears into its bulbous torso, spilling a large amount of its pungent black blood from it. A substantial wound is open. The sound from my side to the side of whatever it is garners. Jutsu's full attention. Already wary, you turn to discover the source of the Spider King's fear. Sryth, the master of shadow magic, stands in the threshold of the chamber, his glare fixed on the jutsu, and his hands weaving a strange pattern in the air. We haven't come this far to be thwarted by a giant bug. He sneezes, his voice far stronger and more sinister than you yet heard it. Every shadow in the room springs to life, and in unison they swarm in the hand of the summoner Sryth, mutters something that you can't make out, and thrusts his hand forward in the direction of the mighty Spider King. A storm of shadows hurtles across the room toward a jutsu, causing a hideous creature to recoil in horror. And as the shadows surge across the chamber, they morph into the spinning silhouettes of countless bladed weapons. The great spider roars in agony as the shadowy forms wash over him, ripping the flesh as they were edged with sharpened steel. Several wounds. Severely wounded but still alive, the jutsu stalks across the chamber towards you, and Sryth hissing loudly with each ragged breath he draws into his cavernous lungs. Die you forever, die you now gone, he roars, his powerful mandibles dancing wildly against the lower half of his half-shattered face as he scuttles across the floor. Turn to glance at Sryth, hoping he can summon another magical attack, but achieving this may find that he's beginning to fade from view. He smiles at you grimly. You sense that he's very weak. Finish that thing, he says, his voice barely above a whisper, and the very instant he vanishes, leaving you along the path of a rampaging Spider King. I couldn't take it by myself. A jutsu savage, bellowing death cry, shakes the walls of the chamber, its rotund punctured and leaked corpse crashes to the floor. Sticky, pungent black blood oozes from the wounds that riddle his hideous torso. A twinge of yellow foam bellows out from beneath its slack mandibles and pools beneath his shattered head. The stench emanating from the corpse of a slain Spider King is almost overwhelming. You cover your nose and close your eyes as you begin to step back from the unmoving mound of oozing flesh that oddly never could have already begun decomposing. Suddenly, you got something lying in the puddle. You step closer and discover it's a black stone ring. I mean, should you take a stone ring? No. I don't think we should. Okay, I will. Of course, it whispers. It got rid of all my health, but it gives me shadow magic experience. Although the dinner whispers not, I can hear mine almost certainly faint voice of Sryth. However, the harsh voice quickly fades, leaving you once again in lonely silence before the swiftly rotting carcass of the giant Spider King. You glance about the chamber, searching for a sight of Sryth, but it seems he has not reappeared. Realizing, however, that the sense of immediacy and indeed perhaps the very face of the kingdom rests on your acquisition of the Eye of Angora, you immediately turn your attention to the splendid firing case. Jim, much surprised, begins to descend into the chamber. Watching fascination as the firing case emerald, the Eye of Angora continues its slow, steady descent. It continues to sink through the air until it's just about head level. As you approach the fabled gem, take care not to get too close to the fire that surrounds your eye, drawn to the broad facet on its glossy surface, where an unsettling image takes shape. One by one, the major cities of Tisa flash across the face of the emerald, and much to your horror, black flags fly from the turrets and towers within the dark banners like draped over the outer walls. The image changes, and you find yourself staring at 5 masked men standing at the side of the black-scaled dragon. On the ground before the 5 men kneel, a grey-haired man pleading for mercy. Your pulse quickly recognizing the new man to be King Renweld, his crown cloven in half lies at his knees. Seeing the surface of the gym changed again, this time it is one of war. Armored black-armored soldiers march over the high mountain pass. The sky above them soars a massive black-winged dragon. The stand bearer at the head of the long column. Warriors are huddled aloft, fluttering black flags. The image fades and you suddenly become aware of near. Standing off to your right is a slight form barely visible amidst the shadow that surrounds him. Take it, said Sryth. Was suddenly faintness at the recent ordeal has been you do not hesitate to take the eye. Leaning word and your own instincts, you reach out and take hold of the floating emerald natural fingers as around that magnificent gem. A sudden calm washes over you. You're about to place the eye safely amongst your other belongings, and he cautions you against it. The weapon of Mindrax's treachery is now yours to wield. You must keep it at hand, and you must never relinquish it, even should such defiance cost you your life. All the dragon's best laid plans will crumble before the eye, and his daily veil of deception will be pierced by its light of truth. It is now the greatest weapon in its only hope. Mir tells you you must return at once with the eye, but your quiet dismay discover that he will not be going back. The portal eye open will consume much of the string I have left. You must return and reunite with Renwell and the others. You now hold the means to tear down Mindrax's schemes. The companions will have wise counsel for you. Together you must certainly prevail. But despite what wickedness the dragon has left to hurl your way. Sryth is about to summon the magic to open the portal that will turn to the center of the inn. When you shoot apart, you tell the attack you witness on Renwell and the others. Then you return to peril, there can be no doubt. Keep the eye in hand and be on your guard. I will do what I can. You can no longer rely on me for counsel or aid. I do not presently have the strength for such labors. Farewell, Allison. Surely hope that we might meet again someday. The master magic waves his hand in the flaming portal to make a one wish into the road appears against the wall. Near steps back out of the glow of the fire and portal and seems to almost melt into the shadows in the corners of the room without looking in his direction. And you tightly close the eye of Mahangara and you take a deep breath and proceed into the swirling black vortex. The world about you goes black. For what seems to be an eternity, you stumble through the fathomless black void. Your hands securely closed around the eye, your mind races. You wonder what awaits you in the cellar of candle glow inn. You pray that you're not already too late. Suddenly the yellow glow of the lantern stabs through the darkness. You find yourself stepping out of the portal once again, setting foot in the cellar of the inn at the very spot from which you previously exited. The bright flare and portal behind you closes. Still somewhat dazed from the passage to the portal, you step slowly forward and your eyes scan the dimly lit cellar for sign of your companions. In your mind, you barely recall your last sight and image. You tumble into the portal as a given attack from Treltok, Driscoll, and Brienne. You're recounting the horrified looks in their face when you stumble over something lying across the floor. You quickly regain your balance and turn to gaze your feet, where your eyes fall upon the sight that simultaneously fills you with anger and horror. Scratch across the cold stone tile floor, the inn cellar, silent and moving, is face on body of Halan. Not Halan. Wow, that was a long one. Alright, you guys. That's the end of that one, and I'm going to end the episode here. It's gone very long. So thanks so much for hanging out and watching me play Sryth. I do love the game a lot, and I appreciate you hanging out with me and watching me play. So, you know what I'm going to say. Peace.